Hey everyone, and welcome back to Brian's Horror Movies for Life YouTube channel. And welcome to this modern horror movie review video. So in this video we're going to take a look at a movie that was pretty well received when it came out in 2022. And that movie is, I have on DVD, Smile. Yeah, I can't do. The first one. I know there's a sequel to this that came out a couple of years ago, so I figured it was time that I got to watching this first one. So there's the back. There's not really much to see as far as like special features or anything. A couple of quotes there. But yeah, let's just go ahead and talk about Smile. So Smile is a 2022 American supernatural psychological horror film written and directed by Parker Finn in his feature directorial debut, a follow-up to Finn's short film Laura Hasn't Slept from 2020. It stars Sasha Bacon as a therapist who witnesses the bizarre suicide of a patient, then becomes overwhelmed with increasingly disturbing visions that lead her to believe she is experiencing something supernatural. It also features Jesse T. Usher, Kyle Gallner, Kal Penn, and Rob Morgan, as well as Caitlin Stasey, reprising her role from Laura Hasn't Slept. At a psychiatric ward in Newark, New Jersey, therapist Rose Cotter meets a new patient, PhD student Laura Weaver, who recently witnessed her professor kill himself. Laura claims she is now being terrorized by an invisible entity that only she can see, that appears as various menacing, smiling people, and has foretold her death. She begins screaming and choking, prompting Rose to call for help. Laura suddenly calms down and smiles, then fatally slits her own throat in front of a horrified Rose. That night, Rose sees a vision of a smiling Laura standing in the darkness of her kitchen. The next day, Rose sees another patient named Carl who smiles in the same way and shouts at her that she is going to die. Rose calls for the nurses to restrain Carl, only to realize Carl has been asleep the entire time. Concerned for Rose's mental well-being, her supervisor, Morgan, orders Rose to take a week off. Rose's hallucinations rapidly increase in severity, and she visits her former therapist, Madeline, who suggests that Rose's problems stem from her childhood, in which she witnessed her abusive and mentally ill mother die from an overdose. Rose sees a toy train and buys it as a birthday present for Jackson, the son of her older sister Holly. At the party, he unwraps the present to find the corpse of Mustache, Rose's cat, horrifying everyone. So yeah, that's kind of the setup, the premise, the beginning of Smile from 2022. As far as the cast goes, we have Sasha Bacon, as Dr. Rose Cotter. Kyle Gallner as Joel, Jesse T. Usher as Trevor, Robin Weigert as Dr. Madeline Northcott, Caitlin Stasey as Laura Weaver, and Kal Penn as Dr. Morgan Desai. So yeah, that's to set up the premise and the cast for the 2022 horror film Smile. I really like this movie, I have to say. I think that it just worked for me. And I'll get into why here as I get into my pros, but despite the fact that it's a movie that definitely heavily borrows from other movies that came before it, it still kind of does its own thing in a very effective and efficient way for me. So let's just talk about Smile, the things that I liked about it, the pros first. And this is a movie that there's a lot more than meets the eye, especially the trailer eye, because when you watch the trailer for this movie, as I did back in 2022, it looks like a very generic horror movie, like a 2010s horror movie that's just very generic, that doesn't really bring much new to the game. But having actually watched this movie, it actually has a bit to say. And even more so than that, what it does have to say is executed really, really well by all concerned. So yeah, there's definitely more than meets the eye with this movie. So I would challenge everybody to watch it and not just go by the trailer. I think the performance of Sasha Bacon, who's Kevin Bacon and his daughter, and Kayla Sedgwick, is it? It's their daughter, and the apple didn't fall far. Okay, let me start over. The apple did not fall far from the tree, the acting tree. because she does a magnificent job in this movie. Her character carries this movie in a very powerful and emotional way, and I was with her throughout from beginning to end, every beat of her performance. I thought she gave a great performance. So really, the whole cast is good here. They all do a good job, from Kyle Gallner to all of them. Caitlin Stacy, she's got the creepiest smile. I mean, I could see why she was cast for this. So the original short, and then brought back for the movie here. But yeah, the acting is good. I love the camera work in this movie. There's certain scenes where like the camera completely flips upside down, and it's like you're seeing the world upside down, which is definitely on purpose. It's a metaphor for this movie in a lot of ways. That certainly wasn't lost on me. The cinematography, the directing, and especially the score of this movie are all really add so much more to the movie. I thought the score was very creepy, loud, and jarring. It's that very I forget the instruments that they use, but it's that very like I can't even think of what the instruments would be, but if you've seen the movie, you know it's just that very like creepy, disturbing, really quick sound that the score has, and it really works for this movie. So yeah, there's just so much to like about the way this movie was put together, about how it was made, executed, directed. It looks fantastic, and it sounds fantastic. And I also like the fact that they ended the movie with the ending credits with lollipop, lollipop, oh lolly, 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 lollipop. I can't do it. I can't sound, but I like that song, and I think it's for a movie that's kind of disturbing like this one. It just kind of hit the right beat for me at the end. I have to say the scares that are here I thought were effectively creepy. Now, admittedly, there are jump scares in this movie, which I'll mention again in my cons, but they're not the worst jump scares. They're not false jump scares. There's no cat jumping out from behind a curtain or anything here. I didn't mind the jump scares in this movie, but more so than that, it's those scares where you see an image in the darkness, that you know it's there, but they don't need to make a big heavy sound to startle you and call it a scare. It's just very effectively done. Yeah, it's just overall a very creepy and unnerving movie. And then I also enjoy the mystery aspect of this movie. Once things start to happen, like another movie that I like from about 20 years before this, there's a certain mystery that takes place to try to figure out what's going on and why and how. Basically, how does the character that's been afflicted with this curse, how do they avoid it? How do they get out of it? And it becomes pretty obvious about halfway through the movie. And I thought the whole mystery was handled well. So yeah, lots that I like about Smile. I just the acting, the directing, the way it looks, the way it sounds, the way it's put together. And then I also like the I don't know if you call it, not dream sequences, but hallucinations. I thought were very effective for this kind of movie as well, even though in a way it is like a dream sequence, which I'm not a big fan of. But I think it actually works for this movie to have these what you think is actually going on, and then it's revealed to be a hallucination, because that's what our main character is experiencing and dealing with. So in that context, it works. As far as cons go, it is very derivative from a lot of other movies, at least 4 or 5 that you could name off the top of your head if you're a horror fan over the last 20 years or so. It's got some Final Destination to it. It's certainly got The Ring to it. It's got It Follows, which I remembered the title in one of my last reviews. I couldn't remember the title of that for some reason, for the life of me. And it's even got a little bit of what's the other movie I was thinking of? The Babadook, I would say, with the mental health aspect of the trauma aspect of it. So there's a lot of different horror movies that play into this one. So as I said, the movie is derivative. It does borrow from a lot of other movies that came before it, and that's probably going to bother some people that are looking for an original movie that's completely creative on its own. However, for me, it didn't bother me, even though I could definitely pick up on what it borrowed from in the movies that it sort of was derivative of. I felt like it did enough of its own thing that it wasn't a complete ripoff of those other movies, just trying to be a generic horror movie and be a cash grab. It actually has something to say while using those elements from those other movies and pulling them in to try to give its own story here. And I think this movie stands on its own pretty well, to be honest with you, despite the borrowing from other movies. It does have a good amount of jump scares, as I mentioned before, but like I said, they're not bad jump scares. They're not false jump scares, at least not for me. But it is something I wanted to bring up and warn people, because I know a lot of people don't like jump scares. I'm not really a big fan of them because they basically make a loud noise when you least expect it, which makes you jump. And then they say, yeah, we got you. That was a jump scare. No, you didn't. You startled me. That's different than being scared. Just because you make a big loud noise doesn't make it scary. And they're just so cheap. But like I said, in this movie, they're not cheap. I didn't find them to be that bad. Another con I'll say is the character of Trevor, who's the fiance of our main character. He just kind of disappears like the second half of the movie, and he's having a hard time sort of believing what the main character is putting down, which that part in itself isn't so hard to believe, but I just thought that it was a missed opportunity that they just got rid of that character. Talking about Trevor, played by Jesse T. Usher. I thought that character could have had a little bit more to offer in the second half of the movie, so that was kind of weird. And then the third act, even though I liked the third act, I think it is one of the weaker parts of the movie. In part because as the audience, we kind of know what's going on at that point and what needs to be done. And it kind of leads down a predictable path, the way the movie ends. It doesn't really throw us off or give us a big twist or anything. We kind of saw it coming even before our main character did, to a certain extent. That being said, I don't hate the third act. I don't hate how the movie ends. I still think it's solid. It's just not as good as the first two acts of this movie, in my opinion. But overall, guys, I really like Smile. I think this is actually one of the better horror movies from my modern horror series that I've reviewed over the last couple months here. And I'm going to give Smile an 8.5 out of 10. 8.5 out of 10 for the original Smile from 2022. Yes, it's derivative, but it does its own thing and it does it well, and it's creepy. Was I scared by this movie? And I wouldn't really say scared, but to be fair, horror movies don't necessarily scare me. It's more about how effectively creepy they can be and how good of a job they do. And this one does a good job. So 8.5 out of 10 for Smile. Go ahead and comment down below your guys' thoughts on this movie if you've seen it. Do you like it? Do you not? Why not? Comment down below. Please like this video, hit the little notification bell, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. It would really help me out for the future of my channel going forward and the content created. But with that being said, we've still got about four more movies to take a look at as part of this modern horror series. I hope you guys are enjoying what you've seen so far from this series. Thank you for watching, and as always, stay scared. Bye.